I've got it. We are now live on YouTube. Sorry about the delay. Go ahead, Mel.
Well done, Katie.
Great. Well, good evening, everybody, community board members, staff and members of the public, and welcome to this meeting of the Martinborough Community Board. Do apologise for the delay in coming online. Under the red traffic light setting, this meeting is being held via audio-video conference. All members participating via audio-video conference will count for the purpose of the meeting quorum in accordance with Clause 25B of Schedule 7 to the Local Government Act 2002. The meeting is being live streamed to Council's YouTube channel. This meeting will also be recorded, and subject to the recording being of suitable quality, will be made available on Council's YouTube channel via a link on Council's website. Now, for section 1, the extraordinary business, I'd like to move that the financial assistance report is added to the agenda as an extraordinary item under agenda item 8.3. It was not included in the agenda as the application was received late, but it can't be delayed as the project itself looks to begin on Monday, the 28th of February 2022. Do I have a seconder to receive the financial assistance report? Thank you, Pam. And all those in favour, please say aye, or put your hand up. And all those against, please say no. Okay, the motion is carried. Was there any other extraordinary business that needed to be added to the agenda? Okay. Now, I have apologies from Councillor Maynard and from Michael Honey. Are there any other apologies that anyone wants noted? Okay, well, I move that the apologies from Councillor Maynard and Michael Honey be received. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Aidan. Please, all those in favour, please raise your hand. The motion is carried. Does anyone have any conflicts of interest that they would like to declare regarding any items on tonight's agenda? Okay. Great, we'll move on. Acknowledgements and tribute. We've been quite a long period without this, but certainly, Aidan, do you have an acknowledgement or tribute you'd like to give?
Yes, thanks. Through you, Chair. I'd like to pay a tribute to Bob Boyne, who passed away earlier this month in his 98th year. So with Bob's passing, this is essentially the end of an era, as Bob was the last surviving returned serviceman who was farming on our Martinborough East Coast, right out along the shoreline there. In 1951, he was, as a returned serviceman, successfully balloted for his farm, which was a soldier's settlement farm or block, which was one of 10 farms subdivided off the original Tora station. And he farmed and raised his family out on that isolated farm from 1951 until 2017, when he moved into town. And in that time, he saw and has experienced immense change within our district. I think if we send our condolences to Tora and Jenny and their children, and Barbara, Tom, and their children who are living over in Australia and unable to get back to New Zealand at the current time. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks very much for that, Aidan. I'd also like to acknowledge the passing of Roger Nico. So he was the youngest of Flo, Bailey and Sam Nico's children before he was brought back up here to the North Island. So yeah, just want to acknowledge he was one of the young builders for Hauriki Marae when it was first being built. He's done a lot of hangis to raise funds for the schools and things as well. So yeah, he'll be sadly missed. Does anyone else have any acknowledgements or tributes? Okay. Right. This evening we have then two speakers who are going to be in our public participation. Each of the speakers will have 5 minutes to speak. Katie will raise a finger to the camera when there is 1 minute left, and then make a T for time at 5 minutes when the time is up. Is Dan Ridderford here for the talk on the coastal campground? We haven't seen.
No, he hasn't joined in the meeting.
No, I checked earlier when we first started, and he hasn't come on board at all either. So that's okay. We'll just move right along then to Sophie. Is Sophie Shipperbottom, who is here to discuss the Swim with Sophie grant application.
Hello.
Okay. Hey, Sophie.
Thanks for having me today. It was pretty short notice. I've met a few of you before. Should I just go straight ahead? I might have to check because I don't think we're working very well. Can you all?
Are you there, Sophie?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yep.
I might have to leave my video off because it seems that my internet did not enjoy my video being on. Sorry, I apologize.
Okay.
I'll just go straight ahead. 13 years across 4 different countries, and I set up a summer swim school this summer called Swim with Sophie, and I've had the pleasure of teaching mouth kids. And I was applied for funding to hopefully make the summer free for the children of Martinborough. I received half of the funding from the South Wairarapa District Council Community Youth Fund, and it was mentioned that if need be, I apply for funding in the future. So I am here now, and during this summer's success, many of the children of Martinborough, being non and weak swimmers, are now moving very confidently through the water. Over the summer, I touched upon some water safety skills with the children, given the terrible drowning rates that we've had this summer in New Zealand. And part of this programme, it was evident that quite a few of these children have not too much knowledge in this area. So I have offered to the local schools a water safety programme. And in this programme, I'm hoping to cover the areas over 2 lessons, and both lessons being 45 minutes long, identifying things around the water that are hazards, such as how to identify rips and currents, how to call for help and rescue another person dry on the water side, understanding rules around swimming, and learning life-saving strokes. So these are strokes specifically for life-saving, so they can preserve their energy in the water, and also survival skills using personal flotation devices. I have approached Piranawa School, and their board have funded their swimming lessons. So I do 2 45-minute lessons with the children there. And I've approached Martinborough School and they're keen to go ahead with the lessons, but unfortunately they don't have the funds. And unfortunately their head of physical activity, she's off with an injury at the moment. So I stepped in because I was hoping that possibly we could squeeze in these water safety lessons before the pool shuts on the 13th of March. I'd also like to mention that I'm pretty keen on keeping the children safe in Martinborough and still going to Martinborough School and giving them a water safety talk, so that the school still gets some water safety if this funding did not go ahead. And the funding that I've requested is $4,820, which would be 45-minute lessons for each child, and at $10 for each lesson. So that's $20 for each child. And there is 421 children, or 241 children, sorry. I think I did put the breakdown. Yeah, 241. And yeah, so I would like to open to any questions for the board.
Does anyone have any questions for Sophie? Hayden?
Through you, Chair. Thanks so much for your presentation. Can I just ask a couple of questions? Will your lessons be built into the curriculum at Martinborough Primary, and will the lessons be within class time?
That's right. So I've been talking with the teachers about because they've given me a list of their class timetable and their current booking with the pool. So I'm just sticking to what they've already done, and I'm going to take 10 pupils from each slot and then spread it over a couple of weeks so that I get every child in.
Right. So and that, I think that leads me into the next question that I had. So the ratio of students to you is 10 students at any one time, is that right?
Yeah, that's
okay.
right, yeah.
Thanks.
I'll also be in the water with the non and weak swimmers, so there'll be plenty of safety as well.
Thank you.
Great, Pam?
Thank you, Mel. Sophie, it's Pam. Can I ask you a question with regard to the funding of this? Are the parents of the children putting any money in towards this, or are you going for the whole funding for this from the community board?
I haven't approached the parents about the funding because I only approached the school and they said that they didn't have funding, but that was as far as I had got with that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, Nathan?
Through you, Madam Chair. Thanks for coming along tonight, Sophie. Couple of questions. So they were 2 45-minute lessons, is that right, per child?
That's right.
Yeah. And how many children was it? I'm just trying to work out if you're going to be able to get it all in.
241 children.
Yeah. 241.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so the children currently swim twice a week. Each room swims twice a week. And I have the room schedule. So it goes from 11:15 until 1:45. And they're each in the pool for 45 minutes.
Thank you.
Great. Were there any other questions? Did anyone have more questions for Sophie? No, well, thank you very much for your time today, Sophie. We really appreciate that.
Thank you all for your time as well.
Okay.
Thanks.
So the next part then is are there any actions arising from the matters raised by our speakers? I think we can safely move to that on section under 8.3 when we move on to the grant funding application. Does that sound okay with everyone? Okay. Great. So we will now be considering the minutes from the 25th of November 2021. Were there any corrections to the minutes? No. Is everyone happy with the minutes as this then? Well, do I have a mover then to move that the minutes of the Martinborough Community Board meeting held on the 25th of November 2021 be confirmed as a true and correct record? Thank you, Nathan. Do I have a seconder? Please raise your hand. Thank you, Aidan. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Great. The motion is carried. So to look, the next, we'll move on then to decision reports from the Chief Executive and staff. So item 8.1, the elected members code of conduct report, pages 6 to 58 of the agenda. Do I have a mover to receive the elected members code of conduct report? Thank you, Councillor Cleanso. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Aidan. All those in favour, please say aye or raise your hand. Right, the motion is carried. Now, members, were there any questions or clarifications that you would like to ask at this time?
Through you, Chair.
Yeah, Aidan?
And I certainly appreciate, Amanda, that you may not be able to, I think, go through and answer the questions as Karen, your predecessor, probably did a lot of the work on this.
I've done a lot of reading and catching up, Aidan, so hopefully I can.
Yep. I'm just, I think we received, or certainly from myself going back through my records, I received an email back on at the end of November with the draft code of conduct, the draft document. And then I think a day or 2 days later, there was a workshop which I attended, and a lot of all the other councillors attended, and I don't think there was too many other community board members attending. Yeah. But I think, and I got the impression out of that workshop that the councillors already had discussion on the draft code of conduct prior to that. And there was, and certainly during that workshop, there was a lot of discussion occurring between councillors of the content. I'm just wondering as to whether, as there was minimal community board members involved, and I certainly felt that I was on the sidelines of that workshop, and I didn't put my hand up and ask too many questions. I'm wondering if we can have our own workshop just for community board members to go through and discuss it, so that we can ask questions, and whether we can, and whether you're able to answer those questions, or because I think at that workshop Karen did make a comment that she might be able to come back to perhaps help and assist with it. I'm wondering if that might be a way forward for us before we make a decision.
I'm more than happy to do that. Both Greytown and Featherston have asked similar questions. So whether we do that as the three community boards together, I need to work that out. But there's definitely an option for a workshop to discuss the code of conduct, the changes, the differences between the old code of conduct, the new one, and any questions that community board members may have. More than willing to do that.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Amanda.
Yeah. I just, this is actually something I have had limited engagement with as well. So I really would like to participate in workshop that with the others on the community boards, if that's an option, rather than making a decision on accepting this as it stands today. Do we need to do anything like for that? If we're not.
Katie, I think the only thing is just to minute the fact that you're not passing a motion to accept the new version.
Right.
So Mel, no, you don't need to do anything. I will just note in the minute that you as a board are looking for perhaps a workshop or some additional information before adopting the code of conduct.
Right, right. And so do we oh no, we just don't have to set an action for a workshop or anything like that either?
It's with me. So I'll come back to you in the next few days with some options for dates and times.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much for that, Amanda. All right. So then if we move right along to 8.2 then, the road naming report, which is pages 59 to 63 of the agenda. Do I have a mover to receive the proposed naming of an existing right-of-way at 4,132 Ocean Beach Road in Martinborough report? Thank you very much, Councillor Colenso. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Nathan. All those in favour, please raise your hand. The motion is carried. Actually, I did have a question just around the picture that they have given around the map and the placement of the road sign and things, and there's no formed road or even unformed road where they're showing there's like just a red, someone's drawn on it like a red felt, and then there's just a little line saying road sign up the top, but it looks like that's placing it outside someone's house. I don't know what this bit of land looks like now, how old this topography is for that, but wondered if somebody could tell me if this is a fully formed road or what it is that we're actually.
Looking at the second photo, Mel, there are two other roads there, Black Knight Lane and something Stone Lane. Can you see that?
See how they're actually formed roads?
Yeah, yeah.
Pointing at, there's nothing.
Yeah.
Is this because I guess what I'm asking is this something that is sitting across multiple properties where a road is definitely going to be put, or is this somebody wanting to just put something on their property, in which case do they need to even ask us right now? So this would just sit with, I don't know what conversations have been had with planning or anything like that. I mean, it all sounds fine, it's its placement. Yeah, Councillor Colenso.
Madam Chair, in the background to it, it says that the estate, so it's to name an existing right-of-way serving 5 lots. So I would say that even though you can't see it on the map there, that there is an existing right of way within that, within the plan at Wharekahau. So,
So is that one that's been put in a right of way by council, like to ensure that?
it'll be a right of way put in by Wharekahau when they subdivided those 5 lots, I would assume, and that now they're asking to name that right of way. It's a shame that that's not. Just see if I can find something on Google Maps and see whether it shows.
Yeah,
Through you, Chair. So I understand that so Wharekahau has come to Martinborough Community Board asking for us, or for permission for us to approve a naming of this road. However, does that therefore mean that, Alex, I don't know if you'd be able to help, or Stefan, would council then be required to maintain that? Because from what I understand, these roads, that Black Knight Road, the top Stone Lane, and this new road they're asking us to sign is behind the private closed gate to prevent public access into Wharekahau.
Stefan, do you want to comment on that? I mean, it's not a gifting. So it's if it's not a council road already, then there's no maintenance requirements.
Right. Okay.
I would suspect that as part of the subdivision, they had an unformed right of way that went through to council with those road names put in there for council approval. Now they're forming the right of way with the building of some new property, and they want it to be registered with LINZ, and therefore the council approving that becomes a legitimate road name. So that's why it's come to you. The councils wouldn't be giving you a recommendation without a necessity.
And I've seen no papers to vest that road within the council, so which is another process to go through if somebody wants to move a road private entity into the council. So I would say Wharekahau will maintain all of those roads within their complex.
Thanks for that.
That's great, thank you. Good. Well, I certainly don't see. I think Romney Lane sounds like a really great and cohesive tie-in with Wharekahau and its history, which is really a long history on the coast. So, and certainly famous, yeah, absolutely famous for their Romney. So, I guess, do I have a mover to consider and approve the proposed naming of Romney Lane for the private road at 4132 Ocean Beach Road, Martinborough? Thank you, Aidan. And do I have a seconder? Thank you, Nathan. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Great, the motion is carried. So we will now move on to item 8.3, the financial assistance report, our extraordinary item. From today, do I have a mover to receive the applications for financial assistance report? Thank you, Aidan. And do I have a seconder? Thank you, Nathan. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Great, the motion is carried. Now, has everybody had an opportunity to read through the application? Because I just want to, do I have a mover to note that the grant application from Swim with Sophie is not eligible for funding under the grants policy, and to note that the community board can make a decision that does not align with the policy if it considers there is a good reason to not apply the policy. Thank you, Aidan. Were you happy to move that? Sorry. Yeah, thank you. And do I have a seconder? Or I'll second it. Thank you, Nathan. Okay, so all those in favour, please raise your hand. Okay, and the motion is carried. So let's have a quick look there around Sophie's application. Yeah, just a little bit of background on this. And so I don't know, I know for myself, Sophie at the very beginning of what she was talking about, it broke up for me. So I don't know if that was happening with everybody, but just to maybe give a little bit of guidance on that. And the reason is because it would be looking to apply these education within the next few weeks before the pool closes in mid-March. That is what is putting that pressure on for us to approve it at this time and in this way. Does anyone have any questions about that, or everyone's okay?
I have my hand up, Madam Chair. If I just wanted to give and Pam may correct me. So both Pam and I were on the community grants subcommittee when this came through, and certainly we did make a recommendation to talk to the community board, but I think the assumption was that that was for the next year's funding, as opposed to coming back in midway through the year. So we certainly saw the merit in what she was doing. Did we feel it was slightly ambitious? I'm not sure, but she seems to be getting it done. But that was the thought, that we gave an appropriate amount at that time from council, and to revisit it in the following year. But those are just some comments from the grant subcommittee.
I was having a talk to Nathan as well about this earlier. So Sophie was trying to see, I guess, the appetite for running a swim school and if that was needed. And she ran a number of free sessions of swimming, just basic coaching. The opportunity was there to go in, whether you went in every day, but over, I think, a 5-day period, where she was offering those free lessons. And then if people wanted to move forward with lessons, then they would be looking to pay for those additional lessons with her. So yeah, what I saw and being there was a huge uptake from a huge amount of kids that attend the pool who then couldn't afford the lessons. So that was actually a real positive. We had some free lessons for those kids, but it did show that there was that gap, I guess, again, between those the haves and the have-nots. Sorry, Councillor Lindsay, if you hand up.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I think that the grant that was given from council enabled those free swimming lessons to be held at the school. And yes, the feedback I've had is that they've been well received within the community. I just have a feeling that some of the parents could contribute, or I think that, rephrase that, Pam, I think that to ask to fund all of the lessons again from community board funding or from additional community board fundings in this year, and not having approached the parents of those children to see whether they would consider contributing in even some small way towards the swim safety of their children and the water safety that is being provided. I I feel that that should have been approached before coming back to the community board. The money that is in the swimming fund, which is being held by the community board for use, Bryce had originally earmarked that money to go to replace the hoist that we have, the disability hoist within the pool, and subsequent to that, he has managed to have that hoist repaired, so he hasn't had to purchase a new one, which has been a great saving. Personally, I would like to see something done with that money that benefits not just those that are learning to swim, but those that are coming to watch their children swim, for everybody who uses the pool, and something like some shade over the seating area, or something like that, that is a benefit for everybody using the pool, not just one sector. That's not belittling the work that Sophie is doing in providing water safety for the children. I think that's great, but I think we as a community group need to look at what we physically want to do with that money as a whole. Yeah, and I'm happy for other people to have their say on that. Yeah.
Yeah, Nathan?
Yeah, I guess I agree a little bit with Pam on that. So I've got a 8-year-old at Martinborough School. She swims pretty much every day through the school. So I guess they're getting some sort of water safety through the school somehow. They're not just going to throw the kids in the pool and hope they float. So yeah, don't get me wrong, Sophie's probably doing a great job from what you've said as well, Mel. But yeah, maybe we do need to look at the bigger picture. There's probably people that aren't getting that everyday swimming like what the school kids are getting. Yeah.
Cool. Aidan, did you? Yeah.
Sorry, I'll just find my button to unmute. So, yeah, I'm certainly taking on board what everyone's saying. I'm just wondering, what about this for an idea that perhaps instead of funding the full amount, can we go back and say we can fund half of it on the proviso that that the parents are approached to cover the balance, the other half, and then perhaps we could, as a community board, look and view and assess what would be needed for extra facilities going. Now that this season is nearly over, but look at in the meantime between now and next season when the pool opens again, and probably at the end of our triennium, look at what other facilities could be improved or replaced down there, utilising that fund.
Okay, great. So
just throwing that out there.
Yeah, cool. Because the other thing is too is that we do then have our next application round is in August. So we can always say to Sophie to look at coming back to us about that point for and maybe it's something they can do at the beginning of summer with the school. Do you know what I mean? Like rather than us. Yeah. But I mean, she could come back to us and let us know how that goes this time, asking everybody. If they go back to the parents this time. Does that make sense?
I mean, I think it's a great service, and she's, like everyone else said, she's passionate. She sounds passionate about what she's doing. She's got sounds like she's got plenty of experience in that sector, in that field. And I think it's great. I mean, the council made that decision a number of years ago to open the pools up and reduce and take the entry fee off to allow the pools to be more accessible for the whole community, for people who weren't able to, or perhaps were not able to afford to access it. And then the opening hours were also extended to allow people to bring families at the end of the day off after they got off the trains from work in Wellington. So I think there's a lot of those well-being things being ticked off already by council with regards to the swimming pool. And I think as a community board, if we can perhaps assist Sophie, in part for something for what she's wanting to do, but also, review and look at how we can improve as a community board the facilities down there going into next season. I think that would be a great step forward.
Yeah, Nathan.
Should we be talking to the school as well before we make a decision in regard to approaching parents to part fund the other half of it?
Well, I mean, wouldn't we would leave that, I don't know, with Sophie to talk?
Yeah, because it's all good, like providing half of the money, but then if I don't know, if it turns out that the parents don't want to fund it, and then you've only got half of the kids that have got access to it because there's only half of the fund there, maybe, I don't know.
I don't know what happens in that case, Pam.
Madam Chair, that you could approve half the money on the proviso that the swim is going to go ahead, and that the other half is provided by the parents.
Can't we just say Martinborough or done through Martinborough School?
Well, whatever way you want to word it. The other alternative is that we provide one lesson so that each child gets one extra lesson. Yeah, and you could word it on that way rather than the people having two lessons. That we would be happy to provide one lesson, and that funding would have to be found elsewhere to provide the second one if they wanted to go ahead with it.
That sounds perfect, Pam. Could we just repeat that as a resolution?
You've got it, otherwise I'll repeat.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if we do communicate that not only with Sophie but also with the primary school, from the community board to the primary school.
Yeah, and let them know that we've given that grant to Sophie. I don't know is there a confidentiality? I don't know how these things work. I mean, nothing. So we're fine to approach the school because we're giving funding on that basis. But I guess that would probably, so we can support Sophie in that way by going back to the school and saying we'll pay for one. But in that lovely terminology that Pam used earlier.
That the Martinborough Community Board is prepared to fund half of it to enable one extra lesson for the 241 children, and if the swim is going to go, the learning is going to go ahead, and that Sophie applies for additional funding elsewhere to cover the other lesson.
Did you get that, Katie? Where was it?
I did, yeah. So just to clarify, the community board is happy to fund half of the money for one lesson. Is that on the provision that funding is granted for the second lesson, or is that unconditional of additional funding? So every student will receive one lesson, regardless of if additional funding is secured for the second one. I just wanted to make sure that I'm understanding.
think that's something we need to vote on, Katie.
Yep.
Yeah. Nathan. Oh,
Yeah, there's probably another thing. Sorry, not every child may want a lesson as well. That I don't think they're all forced to swim.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's right. And sorry, Amanda, did you have some advice around that as well?
Yeah, just some advice around the, thank you, Madam Chair, just around the administering of grants. It would be simpler if the grant was untagged to other requirements. Otherwise, we will have to do the follow-up, which creates more work and could be a bit more complex. So if some of the parents agree to pay, or it could get a little bit complicated. I think it's easier if it's clean and tidy, and that Councillor Colenso's suggestion was appropriate.
Yeah, just that we will provide the funding for one lesson and just leave it at that. Is that what you mean, Amanda? Sorry. Okay. Yeah,
Correct.
for one
Yeah.
lesson. Does
Don't
that
make
make
it
sense, Katie?
You could
Yes.
do something in there that encourages the school to self-fund the second lesson.
Do you mean like
Amanda.
which would put wording? Do we have to put wording in? Do you mean, Amanda?
Yeah, just say, you could say something like the community board encourages the school to self-fund, and then that's up to them how they do
Or
it.
consider the funding of,
Yeah.
consider the funding of an additional lesson. Yeah. So do we, do we need to vote? How do we, what do we're doing? So now let me just get
So
back.
Mel, you'll need someone to put forward a motion, and then someone to second it, and then you'll need to vote. If there's a few different ideas of what this looks like, different motions could be put forward by different people, and then vote. So I mean, it's really up to the board what they would like this to look like.
Okay. I'm not sure of the wording. Pam, would you like to put forward a resolution to vote on?
Katie, could we ask you to read what you've got on your table at the moment, please, as the motion?
I believe it's consider the application from Swim with Sophie for $4,820.
No, the one that I put forward, that the Martinborough Community Board consider funding one swim lesson for the 241 children at the school, which would bring that application down to $2,410, and that if the other lesson is to be provided, that funding is arranged for that.
And do we need
for that piece?
do we need to say for that money to come from the swimming fund, but for Martinborough Swimming Pool Fund? Martinborough Swimming Pool Fund.
So in the resolution, it would highlight that it was to be funded through the Martinborough Swimming Fund and not the grant fund or the beautification fund.
Okay. Okay. Well then, can I propose that we make a resolution then to fund $2,410 for the grant application for Swim with Sophie to come from the Martinborough Pool Swimming Fund, or Martinborough Swimming Pool Fund. Do I have a seconder? Is that right? Do I have a seconder?
Before you do that, Madam Chair, I think that we need to specify that it's one lesson, so that we're not using that money to fund 2 lessons for some of the children and none for others. So it needs to specify the 241 children, so that if
at Martinborough School
everybody takes it, then she doesn't need all of that money.
Yeah, which yeah, so for the $2,410 to fund 1 swimming lesson for each pupil at Martinborough School.
Yeah.
Is that so? Right. So was that resolution okay, Katie?
Yep, so you'll just need to get a seconder and then you'll need to put it to the vote, please.
Okay, do I have somebody then to second my resolution? Thank you, Aidan. If I could then just put that to the vote. All those in favour of that resolution, please raise your hand. Right. The motion is carried then. So now we'll move on to the officers' report. Item 9.1, pages 64 to 104. Do I have a mover to receive the report? Thank you, Nathan. And do I have a seconder? Please raise your hand. Thank you, Councillor Colenso. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Great, the motion is carried. So members, were there any questions on the officers' report? Actually, I had a question, just sort of straight out the gate, which for the page 64 where they're talking about planning services. It's, I guess, high level, no numbers or anything like that. My concern is whether or not there is what is being looked at to increase the capacity for the sewage ponds in Martinborough before more places are being looked at. I know we put in a big the big pipe for the Pinot Grove, which of course gets it to the ponds, but the ponds themselves sizing hasn't increased, and I just don't see anywhere that there's any work being done on that. And for Martinborough, do you know anything about wastewater in the Martinborough?
Ngā mihi nui kia koutou Chair, and good evening. Kia ora koutou everyone. Thank you. I think, Chair, you're asking a question whether the wastewater treatment for Martinborough is future-proofed in terms of the planning and the infrastructure. Is that correct?
Well, it's the additional housing when we're already however many thousand over capacity.
Does it take sufficient account of the growth of the area as a whole?
Yeah.
No, I don't know the answer to that. I'll be honest. But I'm happy, Chair, to take that question back to the Wellington Water wastewater treatment team and provide a good answer for you.
Yeah, I think particularly if something has been put in place that negates the old numbers, you know, like there is actually, maybe they actually have increased it, but nothing's ever come out to us that that's occurred. So if that has happened and we just weren't aware of the planning, or anyway, it would be great to get an update on it. Thank you, Stefan. Great. Councillor Colenso.
Madam Chair, just you made the comment about the increase in the pipe for the Pinot Grove subdivision. I think I stand corrected, and Stefan may be able to correct me on this, but my understanding was that just wasn't solely for the Pinot Grove subdivision. It took the way, it was one of the main wastewater pipes through to the settling ponds and things that needed to be increased in size for the capacity that we have now, and that services part of the whole town. But yeah, just wanted to clarify that point.
Yeah, no, definitely. Sorry if I wasn't clear. I knew they had increased capacity to get it to the pond. It was what was happening there.
Yeah, and I think that with the planning, the advanced planning and the master plan and things like that, that will be done to look at Martinborough and where increased housing and things like that can go, that will all cover any requirements to increase the ponds in that area, as well as water through to those new subdivisions and things like that. Is that right, Stefan?
Yes, thank you. Through you, Chair. There was a network uptake from the Pinot Grove works, so it wasn't purely for the purposes of the subdivision. There was an influence to the network, which is correct. And yes, I mean the work we're doing on the major planning documents like this, the district plan, spatial plan, takes account of future development growth. But unfortunately, that specific question on the ability of the wastewater treatment system and specifically the ponds to accommodate, future growth, I'd need to get more detail for you on that.
Thank you. That's great. Thanks. Did anyone else have any questions about some of the officer's reports? Aidan?
Just going through on page 93, there's the picture of the damaged Payne estate to the shed. Just wondering what the update on that has been, and if there's been a decision from the insurance company or builders to fix or repair that. Yeah.
Thank you, Council. Thank you, through you, Chair. I do have an update on the Payne Farm repairs, which I am struggling to locate.
Well, that's all right. I was just wondering through your Chair if there's information there. I'm wondering if after the meeting or tomorrow you can flick that out to us.
Yeah, just if I could have a moment, I'll try and find this update for you.
Okay. Yep, and Nathan?
I in passing, I saw Bryce this afternoon, and he touched on a little bit. Sounds like there's an insurance claim, and they're going to rebuild part of the shed. Stefan's probably got more information though. Yeah.
Thank you for your patience, everyone. I do have a short update. It is the subject of an insurance claim. We've received a quote from a contractor to repair the garage. We're just going back to the contractor with a couple of questions on the estimate. And the you may be aware that the damage that's being repaired is the broken lintel above the door, and to remove a wall and replace the wall in full, as well as replace the roof in full. So it's a fairly fulsome repair, and we're just working through with the contractor details of the estimate.
Okay. That's great.
So through you, Chair, Stephen, so with
Thank you.
that happening once with the branch or a limb falling off that tree, is council looking at perhaps tidying up some of those big trees to prevent a reoccurrence, or to open up and allow more light into the property?
Yeah.
That's a helpful suggestion. I'll take that back to the amenities manager and pass it on. Thank you.
Yeah, you can
Thanks.
actually see it in the picture on page 93 that there's a number of sort of similar aged trees all there beside it.
Madam Chair, I am grateful they're not demolishing it, that they are replacing it, because that's quite a historic garage, that one.
It is. Yeah, no, it's good.
What did you store in it when you were living there, Alex?
Old cars.
The Mercedes?
The interesting thing was that I could never work out on that, just as a deviation from serious matters, why there was a double door on the back of the garage as well. And my father-in-law said that old Mrs. Payne had a Vauxhall 14, and she kept forgetting to brake. And after twice going through the brick at the back of the garage, the trustees decided just to put a door on there that would pop off.
It won't be the first time that an elderly person will forget to brake and keep on going straight through things in Martinborough. Great.
I just wanted to go to page 78, is just because that's the water officer's report. But I had a question which isn't covered by these things, which is around the fire hydrants in Martinborough. So we've been banging on for quite a while about the fire hydrants being closed, trouble for the firefighters actually accessing them. And I understand that they had trouble when there was a fire. Luckily there weren't any people involved, but accessing one of their fire hydrants that had accidentally been run straight over the top of with gravel and things. But sorry, Aidan, are you able to?
Yes, and apologies. I have received an email from the fire chief, from Jake Hawkins. However, it disappeared into my spam box on my council email address, so I only just found it this afternoon. But if I can just hold that up, that's a photograph of the fire hydrant in the bottom end of Venice Street. And I can email this out to you. Bottom end of Venice Street, earlier in January this year, when the fire brigade attended a fire in the shed at the back of the property. They were unable to access that fire hydrant, so they had to smash it open and destroy the cap, so that they could put the standpipe in and access water. Certainly, I think it was over 18 months ago that was raised at the community board meeting, and at that time we found out that there was the audit or the annual inspection standard was that 20% of all fire hydrants had to be inspected every year, and that was right across the district of all three communities to ensure that they are open and accessible, and was discussed at length over a number of meetings. I think Harry was in discussions with Wellington Water to increase their frequency, so instead of just being 20%, it was going to be greater. However, obviously our volunteer fire brigade is still having issues accessing fire hydrants, and that's evident from earlier on this year. I see that Princess Street from Kitchener Street to Waihanga Road has recently been resealed, and I'm just wondering as to whether either the contractors Fulton Hogan or Wellington Water or council staff or anyone has in fact ensured that those hydrants are accessible after the tar sealing or resealing of that road. I'm just wondering if we could raise that again and to be addressed urgently for the sake of the community and our fire brigade, please.
Yeah, definitely.
So can we do that as an action point, or?
Yes, I can add it to an action in the minutes.
And I can email that picture out tonight to everybody just so that they can see and have a bit better view than holding a piece of paper in front of the camera. Thanks.
Stefan, just so you are aware, you have heard Aidan say that, you know, 18 months that we've been talking about this, and it's because it was our firefighters had come to us and said that they were struggling all the time, and so that was when we asked and found out that only 20% of the hydrants had to be cleared with the KPI for it, so they were going to ask for that to be done. But is it whose responsibility is it, Stefan? Like, I mean, is it the roading crews who go through and put it on there? Like, I've just noted like quite a bit of sinking lately, like sinking of the fire hydrants and even the sewerage ones. You know, there's a little sinkhole in the middle of Dublin and Jellicoe on the Dublin Street side there. But I mean, there's the wastewater is really close to the fire hydrant, and they both just seem to have dropped there on that corner. Of whether that's because it's a heavy traffic bypass, I don't know. Yeah, but it's just one of those things. That is it when they repair the road, or that they should be checking that? Is it the roading crews? Is it Wellington Water? Or?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the questions. I mean, you have no disagreement from Council about the critical importance for our fire service to be able to access fire hydrants when they need them. That's obviously very important. And I don't know a lot about this issue. I'm hearing it for the first time. It is a Wellington Water responsibility, as I understand it, and the service level for that will have already been set, as you've noted. But I'm happy to have a conversation about whether that service level can change, given the health and safety dimension that we've talked about. As for the sinking of the, I didn't quite get all of that, but if there's a specific, specific question, then just fire it through to me, and I can lodge it as an inquiry into the system. I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, I'll send you through a little email, because there's just a couple of good spots, I guess, to look at the moment. You can see what I mean.
Thank you.
Yeah.
If I could comment as well, I have asked the CEO on progress on the once every 5-year checking of fire hydrants as part of the SOI with Wellington Water. We have to be very careful about changing SOIs midstream with them, and also the resourcing of what they have to do anyway. I would suspect that Stefan, you, me and Harry might have a chat about an alternative way of checking them annually outside of Wellington Water and in between their once in 5-year checking regime.
Mel, could I say something, please?
Sorry, Councillor Lindsay.
Through you, Madam Chair. Stefan, could you also, when you're getting them to have a look about the resealing of the roads and things like that and the hydrants, can you make sure that those blue cat's eyes go back to indicate where the hydrants are? They we have them all over town, like the little yellow cat's eyes, but they're blue, and they certainly in the evening highlight where the hydrant is for the fire service. And then the other question about testing the hydrants in the intervening years that Wellington Water may not have that scheduled for, then maybe a discussion with Jake about the fire service do a practice every Tuesday night, and they could maybe flick the lids off some of the hydrants around town in a systematic order to just test those, so that that would be free if that came with a council blessing to be able to do that. So that may be something they can incorporate into their training program.
Probably require a lot of traffic management.
I think it's an issue though that's region-wide, district-wide, because if Martin was having the problems, then we need to be checking Featherston and with the fire brigades there as well, whether this is. So I think it's a bit more systemic than having it as a casual one. I think we do need to have a program for this.
And I think that's how it was highlighted
so
originally.
Dry here. Yeah, we actually seem to get a bit drier in Martinborough than Greytown and Featherston a lot of the time, although it's pretty green out there at the moment. But certainly, you know, around Christmas time and January, we were pretty bone dry out there. Yeah, but that is good.
Just some thoughts anyway.
Did anyone else have anything on water? Because I'm just had another thing on page 88 where we've moved into the roading and officers report. One of the things that they've got on there is about the fifth right at the top, 54.7 kilometres of streets mechanically swept. And one thing that I see happening regularly, because I have noted it probably in the last 2 months, maybe about 3 or 4 times, that the day we have our rubbish day, so on Martinborough, which is a Wednesday, is the day they come to do street sweeping, and they have to go around when people have put their bins out just that little bit further. They have to go out and around, and you sort of see them moving the truck, and it's like, they've missed half of the gutter. So I don't know if any of the other community boards are seeing that, but I am seeing in Martinborough regularly. In fact, the only time I see the sweeper has been on rubbish day. And I just wonder if that could be put into a better cohesion with Greytown and Featherston, so that we all get swept, but not on rubbish day, to ensure it gets done well. Is that possible, Stefan?
So through you, Madam Chair, I can certainly ask if the mechanical sweeping of the streets can be done on a day other than the rubbish collection day. I can raise that.
Thank you. I did see them yesterday and last Wednesday as well. Are we able, while we're on roads, Stefan, do we have an update on Hinakura Hill Road? Well, I haven't sort of seen anything for a wee while, so, but I have seen that there's been issues around the bus and the road. So just wondering how that was tracking along, really.
Yes, thank you. Hinakura Road is due for an update on the work plan, I believe, next week. So officers are currently in the process of formulating an update for residents and the community. The work program is going well. I mean, you'll be aware that the work that was done prior to Christmas to reform the road resulted in the road being open to all traffic, including heavy traffic, with some speed restriction. And I'm pleased to say that continues to be the case. The road is open to all traffic, and other elements of the work program, like the removal of the trees, which have become a real dead weight on the banks, is progressing, and we are continuing with our work to relocate the dam. We've done some 3D mapping of the potential new sites of the dam using a drone, and we are also working with Greater Wellington Regional Council on planting for the site, which would then be followed by fencing once the planting has been done. But for a more detailed outline of what's being done, I would ask you please to just wait a week, and we'll put something out as planned for people to take a look at. And then in relation to the use of the road by the school bus, we have been working with the transport company on that. The transport company is at the moment hesitant to use the road. The road is, as I said, open for heavy traffic and is currently used by a range of very heavy vehicles, including milk tankers, stock trucks, and the like. But the transport company is seeking some further information from us on the safety of the road, which we are trying to provide so that the service can continue. That's about all I know at the moment.
I can add to that, Stefan, Madam Chair, if it's okay.
Yeah.
So it was quite fascinating. So I rang Ministry of Education when I heard that that GoBus was not using the road because of safety concerns. It turned out, after a very long conversation with them, that it wasn't. A driver had made a comment about the safety of the road. They, as part of the GoBus new contract, the Ministry of Education had to look at the road to then react to allow the buses to go through, and the Ministry of Education did not have time to come. So it wasn't necessarily that they felt the road was unsafe, it's because they hadn't inspected it in a timely manner. So I understand that the inspector has been out. I got an email at 4:30 this afternoon saying he'd like to discuss it with me, and that they think they had a plan for improving the service. So I'll probably email you when I get a reply back from that.
Okay, thanks, Alex. Aidan?
That will be great. Thanks. Thanks for that information, Alex and Stefan. I've certainly been getting emails from residents out there who are driving and clocking up an extra 200 k's a week to get their kids up to the Hikawera Road intersection, and then driving back and then can start their work. So there's been a lot of frustration. I know that they've been involved talking to Curinary College, having discussions with the Ministry of Education, and also Kieran McAnulty has been involved on their behalf as well. So yeah, it'd be great if some resolution or progress and resolution can be made in that sooner rather than later. Thanks for that.
Yeah. I did want to say too, congratulations on page 94 of the report about the small gardens, the new summer planting, and how successful that's been. So that's actually really exciting, actually, because it's been something that Michael in particular has been pushing for a really long time, is to have drought resistant plants in there. So it's great to hear that that's been a success. Here.
Through you, Chair.
Yeah.
Stefan, I was looking through the minutes or all the agenda earlier on in the piece, and I did see something in relation to Mike Firth's presentation from at our last community board meeting about the rural roads and the overhanging lupin. And I think there was a comment somewhere that was going to be sprayed in the autumn spraying program. But I just can't place it now. I was wondering, once it's sprayed, is there an opportunity, because I just see on the White Rock Road in the last couple of days, there's been a mower or mulcher go down the White Rock Road, heading out to the Wakapuni, and could that mulcher be utilised to knock back that roadside lupin and improve visibility, or has that already been considered and perhaps put in place?
Thank you. Through you, Chair. So you're getting down into quite a level of detail, and I'm afraid I'm not going to be much use to you. I am aware that I passed the inquiry on regarding the lupin to the roading team, who have promised me that it will be sprayed in the autumn spray cycle, along with a lot of other lupin in the area. Beyond that, I don't know. I'm afraid I can't answer that question in more detail, but I could take it back perhaps.
Sorry, if I can, it's actually on the last page. So they've got their White Rock Road at Wakapuni Hill was repaired in December, and the lupin will be sprayed in the autumn spray cycle. So it's actually the very last page of the agenda.
Thanks for that. I'll fire an email through to you, Stefan.
Yeah.
If I could comment on that, so the council will mow any roadside area that is particularly has been noted or they feel is dangerous from a visibility. So they will. I don't think they'll mow specifically. It's not within our roading contract for mowing for lupin control, but they will do. So if there is an area of the road that any member of the public feels needs to be re-looked at from a visibility safety perspective, they certainly need to log a request with council and we'll address it straight away.
Okay.
Thanks.
Right. Just need to get that. I will just say, Stefan, it's this in the report itself, page 95, under 11.7 other projects, and right there at the top is actually my great big bugbear that I've talked about on a number of occasions, and that is the spelling of Hauriki Marae. Is still reading hua all these months past, and hua means something not very nice and is something else, not what Hauriki means. So if that could please be corrected, and moving forward, I just yeah, I've seen it so many times now. Yeah, be great.
Yes, I apologise for that. It's very important that today was spelled properly in all our reports. So I'll make sure that's noted. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Stefan. Okay, I think. Then what have we got? The voting. Oh, page 98 and 99 is the voting program report. Anything.
Madam, can you say what point number that is? Because on Stella we don't have the page numbers. Thank you.
Oh, sorry, it is. So we are moving on to Appendix 1 is the voting program report. Appendix 1.
Lovely, thank
you. Yeah, just a couple of pages down. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about that isn't on there at all. But when we've been asking about all of the road safety initiatives that we would like to see happen around Martinborough, we were told that that was all going to be incorporated into the speed reviews. And when they would be making the speed reviews, they were going to be looking then at incorporating any changes to the pedestrian crossings and things. Is that right? Have I got the? Is that right? But we had to wait for the speed review's been done now, and I just wondered if any of our safety initiatives are currently programmed, like just particularly there's the pedestrian crossing on Jellicoe Street, corner of Venice Street, as well, where that pedestrian crossing gets blocked by the cars that park hard up outside the accountants and hard up against it, that maybe would be going to circus or whatever, particularly at night time, and that's when that pedestrian crossing becomes quite bad. Yeah, but like, I think one of the things we'd asked about was if they were going to raise, we were told they were going to raise those lollipops up a bit so that they could be seen over but they're still at the same length. And the Roberts Road sign for saying slow children that we talked about last time being moved from the bump where it's on Robert Street, that doesn't connect to Robert Street outside the school. And I actually think, did we have Tim or Ben or someone was online at the time and they said it was quite an easy fix, but moving those yellow signs from miles away on Robert Street from the school, but actually putting them back up by the school. And the main reason is the cars that come off Princess Street see the school, and it might be closing time, and the poppy people are out, with the lollipop people, I mean, and so they jerk off down Robert Street, floor it once they get around that corner, and there's the kindy, Martinborough kindy, and so that's what I really want people to see, is those bright yellow signs when they turn that corner at Robert Street, even if it's still down that end by the end by the manse and the school playing ground, like that wouldn't be blocking anyone's view or anything. But yeah, they said last time that was a simple fix and that it would be done, but they're still the same anyway, those signs. And then the other one that was going to be sorted in the speed review was the State Highway 53 Princess Street corner safety issue would be looked at. Yeah.
Through you, Chair, I'm just wondering if perhaps we could sit as a community board offline at some stage, perhaps sit down with Stefan to discuss some of those road safety issues. I know that the speed review has been discussed and we've been told it's coming for a long, long time. I haven't seen anything, but I'm just wondering as to some of those issues that have been raised to the community board over the last 18 months, if we could just sit down with Stefan being new on board and perhaps and have a conversation with him to see if some of that stuff could be programmed in at some stage in the very near future.
Yeah. Could I say something? Stephen, I'm not sure. Councillor Alistair Plummer and myself are on the Wairarapa Speed Review Committee that are looking at the speed on the roads and things like that throughout the whole of the Wairarapa district. We're at this stage waiting to see what NZTA put out for what they're going to propose for the state highway, because we can't make any decision on local roads until we know what the state highway is. So we're just waiting on that at the moment. Yes, it's got a bit long and drawn out, but there's a delay in NZTA putting what they want in place. So just to know that it's not forgotten what's happening with speeds and around schools, and what speed will go past schools and things like that. It's just that we've got a bit of a delay before we can process that within the Wairarapa.
Thank you for that, Pam.
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Chair. It's correct. The speed review under the Road to Zero policy isn't completed yet, and it's a domino effect for us, whereby we need to understand the outcomes of that campaign in the ministerial oversight group before it has a flow-on effect into decisions that we make on our rural roads. I also wonder whether Mel, you might have seen the recent paper on pedestrian crossings. Did that?
No.
I'm not sure if that answered the questions that you have.
No, I didn't see that. Yeah.
Okay. Look, and in relation to Aidan's suggestion that we sit down and look at the priorities that you all have in relation to improving the safety of the roads in Martinborough region, I would welcome that.
Yeah, that'd be really great, Stephen. Yes, appreciate that. I'll talk to everyone and we'll try and set something together that would be excellent. Thanks. Aidan?
Now, can I suggest that goes as an action point so that it
Actually, great idea. Yeah, absolutely. Katie, if that's okay, an action point for us to the Martinborough Community Board to meet with Stephen.
Absolutely, yeah.
Brilliant, thank you.
Sorry, Aidan, I didn't mean to jump in ahead of you.
It's fine.
Sorry. Yeah,
No worries.
sorry, Aidan.
No worries. Alex, can I just ask, so right back when we started on board on this triennium, there was discussion about the speed review around, was that just a speed review around Martinborough, or was it a speed review around all three towns? And has that now been slowed down and parked because of NZTA's or Wakatahi's Road to Zero?
As Pam said, that's absolutely correct. There are a lot of roads that are in dire need of a speed review, and the classic one is Ngawi, that needs to go down to 30, through the township. Then once the NZTA finish their speed review, it goes through into the district plan, and that gets implemented. We have had I've had a discussion with Harry about whether or not we can look at, because some of these are quite urgent, do them by council resolution prior to the district plan review. And he's rather hesitant about doing that because that is a lot of extra work for staff.
So yeah, it's just unbelievable that for 2.5 years, the work or the discussions have been occurring, and now because central government have started the process, that's slowing the local body process down.
But that is the pace of change for speed reviews in councils, and it has been for decades throughout the country. It's a slow process.
The slow wheel. Thanks.
Okay. So did anyone have any further questions around the officer's report? Yeah, Nate?
Yeah. In regard to the Payne farm, I talked about this a while ago. We have here both properties are well maintained by occupants. I think that we need a proper detailed like a proper detailed property management report on the house and the cottage. I don't think it's too much to ask. We're paying, I guess, over $20,000 in operating costs to the council to be doing this, and a sentence saying that properties are maintained all right just doesn't cut it with me. So if we can have a proper report, that'd be quite handy moving forward.
Well, actually, Nathan, I think that was what was agreed on with the council to us, was that we should be getting, like, was it six monthly or every year, a report on it once they had completed that bulk of maintenance and put somebody in there. We were still supposed to be getting a report every year at least, wasn't it? Or was it twice a year?
I thought it might have been. I thought it may have been every 3 months, but I could be wrong there.
Through you, Chair.
Yeah.
The Payne Farm homestead and cottage are inspected every 3 months, and I don't know if we provide you with the report. We certainly would provide you with any sort of issues or risks that should be raised to governance, and we sort of need to balance the nature of the inspection with the the intrusion that has for tenants.
You, Councillor Clenzo?
Through you, Madam Chair, Stefan, I think once officers have actually done their inspection on the home, it would be, I think what was thought would be provided would just be an overview of that, not the report. We do not need to see the report. That's private, but just to say that everything was in order. There's no extra maintenance to be done at this time, or the tree by the garage needs to be felled, and it's we're working on whatever that is. So I think it just needs to be a broad overview as to what is there, but we certainly do not need to see the ticked box that is done with the tenants. That is not our business. That's for officers. Would you agree with that, Amanda?
Thank you, Councillor Colenso. Through the chair, Mel, just reiterating what Stefan says. Under this, in this context, we're under the Tenancy Act and the Landlord Act, so we have to provide suitable peace and quiet of tenancy for the tenants.
Yep.
And this is a public meeting, so we wouldn't want those factors being played out in a public sphere.
Through you, Chair, I think once we make an inspection, a simple message to the Chair that no issues were found, or there were some minor issues that needed attention. I mean, something like that might be arranged. The next inspection is on Wednesday, actually, as I understand it. And the regarding the frequency, I mean, every 3 months is pretty rigorous. Just for comparison, the pensioners' flats, the inspections on the pensioners' flats are every 6 months, so it's double that. Yeah.
Okay.
I appreciate that, but we had a situation a few years back where it got fairly run down. So just Just want to make
It's
sure that
thinking
we're protecting our asset.
tens of thousands of dollars, or
Mm.
hundreds, I don't know, it has been spent to bring it back up to par after being allowed to run into disrepair. Sorry, there, Alex.
Yeah, look, can I, Stefan, there is a bit of history here. And certainly, I think for many years, the community board will want comfort that the correct maintenance is being rigorously upheld. Perhaps you could have an offline ability for the community board to have a briefing from Bryce at a 3-monthly basis where they can activate that, and they can have a quick Zoom meeting with Bryce to just be brought up to date in private. It's just a suggestion. I don't want to overload Bryce with more stuff, but he is intimately involved in that.
You know, I think that sounds quite good, quite fair. Do you guys, does that, Nathan? Yeah,
No, that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, that
As I
would be
say,
really
we're just
nice,
trying to protect the asset.
particularly for what it is, like what it's for, what it's the benefit for the children of Martinborough. It's a pretty amazing asset that we're very, very lucky to have. Yeah. So do we put that then as an action, or is that something that's going to be, can we have it as an action, Katie, for, or Stefan, does that just, will that be organised with Bryce? I don't know.
Thank you. Look, if it finds favour with the board, could we leave it as something that that we discuss when we meet as to the appropriate way of giving you the reassurance that you need about the asset management of that particular venue, and then leave it open as to how we achieve that. Would that be all right?
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be great.
Could I suggest that you have an action item that a mutually satisfactory way of reporting on maintenance of the pain farm is established, and once that's done, then it can be actioned.
Yeah.
Just as a suggestion.
Yeah, that's an agreement.
Yeah. Okay, I will add that.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, Katie. Okay, so just moving on. I'm going to be honest, I read this little bit about rates arrears that's sort of been put onto the back of the of that officer's report, and I actually find it really difficult to understand. So I might yeah, I need to look into that about that's the truth. That rates and rates arrears, just when I was trying to figure it out about the 80% increase from last year, which wasn't last year, it would have been September 2020, and yeah, so I just ended up getting confused. Anyone can help? Because is it correct it's $482,000 in arrears as of September 2021? Am I reading that correctly?
Chair, I'm afraid I'm not any use to you here. This is well and truly into Russell's domain. But if you would like to send a question through, I'll make sure that it's answered. I'm not sure if anyone at the table tonight can answer it. Maybe the mayor.
Thanks, Chair. This is a fluctuation level of reports because we have people on. It's confusing for everyone. But if we have people on automatic payments, you end up with an arrears even though there's an agreement and they're not technically. And also it depends on the size of the property, whether that's an arrears that fluctuates the value versus the number. So what I would suggest, if we could, Stefan, is that we ask Katrina to give you a more precise update on rates arrears and her commentary on how it is trending in comparison with previous years. I think that is a much easier way of explaining it, because when we do this at FAR, we do have Katrina with us, and it's quite helpful.
Okay. That would be great. Thank you very much for that, Mary. Aidan?
It'd also be helpful to know whether it's commercial versus residential, although I see that there's a line there for rural as well. But could I just ask, through you, Chair?
Yeah, Aidan.
Mayor Alex, with so at the end of last year, there was the public meetings and the discussions, and the three options were put before the public, and then there was the option 3 that had that savings of, I think, were forecast that could be made of over 300k. Has any progress been made on implementing those savings or deferrals to start saving that over 320k that was forecast at those public meetings, and then that was voted upon at the council meeting after the public meetings?
That's currently so that has.
Sorry, has he frozen for everybody?
Yeah, Alex, you're frozen.
You're frozen.
Discussions as we move.
You have to start again, Alex.
Can you see me now?
Or anything.
So can you see me now?
Yes,
Yeah.
we can.
Cool.
We need to go back
Okay.
to the start.
So that is currently being considered by council now with regards to the annual plan. I probably can't say too much. However, I do know that quite a significant level of permanent savings has been put on the table or has been implemented, and the councillors are considering how that's going to be approached.
So the options that were tabled at the public meetings, and option 3 with the over 300k
Yes, yeah, I got that.
forecast savings.
Yep.
So I thought they were accepted at the council meeting following those public meetings, and then the discussion was that in the annual plan process starting in February this year, running through to June this year, there was going to be further discussions about how rates could be reviewed or redressed, as opposed to those savings that were identified in option 3. So I thought they were two separate processes. But are they? So are the options that were identified are the savings that were identified in option 3, were they put up for public information, and then they weren't going to be addressed until the annual plan this year?
So the savings that were put up on there I'm trying to state this without breaking confidentiality or what's been occurring. However, the savings have been, as described, have been implemented. There may be some variations, and now we are looking at whether they are permanent or temporary, or how that will affect the rates for the coming year with regards to what's already been announced with the long-term plan. So yes, there have been savings, and yes, we're looking at whether they are permanent or temporary, and how we can pull those rates down. So that's a matter for discussion. I can't really say too much more.
So there has been one step, one process, and then the next process is the annual plan process starting in February and going through to June.
That's correct.
Okay. Thanks very much. And when would the public be able to hear as to what those details of the savings that have been made? When can that be communicated to everybody?
When I would assume, Amanda, whether you want to talk to that, because I think you've got a better idea of timelines.
Yeah, I'm guessing it will be when the annual report is written, but I'd have to check with Katrina. So that might take some time.
You'll be identified when we look and we announce whether or not we're going for consultation on the annual plan, or whether it can.
Oh yes, sorry, apologies. Yeah, I was thinking you were talking about the savings specifically. The consultation decision will be made within the next couple of weeks.
Great. So that
the process will take a bit of time to organise. So, but we have to make the decision on whether or not to consult within the next couple of weeks for the annual plan.
So after the rates issues last year, and then the decision was made to re-look at the rates in the upcoming annual plan, council are now going to decide as to whether they're going to consult with the community on whether the rates, on what the rates picture will look like this coming year.
So if they stay within the agreement that is in the so if they stay within what's in the current long-term plan, there's no legislative requirement to consult. If we deviate significantly from that annual plan, we need to consult.
If you deviate significantly from the long-term plan.
Sorry, the long-term plan, my apologies, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
However, there was that big concern within the whole wider South Wairarapa community last year about the rates. So I think there would be a lot in the community that would certainly want to be consulting on the annual plan and the rates going forward.
100%. I hear what you're saying, Aidan. I know that I wasn't here, sorry, through the chair. And that absolutely is part of the picture. But to consult, you have to have a decision that you have to have choices. Like we have to be able to pitch A, B, or C, and then consult. If we've got, yeah, I am struggling with the same difficulty that you had there, Alex, in the context of, you know, the options. If we don't have any options before us, if we don't have any selections or choices, it's very difficult to consult genuinely. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. So
absolutely, there will be significant engagement and communication and opportunities for the community to give us some feedback. That will definitely happen without whether or not we're consulting. Consulting is a formal process that requires submissions and a clear question or selection of choices.
But we need to make a submission to the annual plan. Do you mean that you might not be taking any submissions for the annual plan to make, or, you know, to make?
What I'm saying is that there's no legal requirement unless we deviate from the long-term plan. Does that make sense? Apologies.
Yeah.
The decision hasn't been made, and it's not my decision. The advice I'm giving is there is no legal requirement to formally consult if we aren't deviating from the long-term plan, the second year of the long-term plan.
Yeah, totally.
So,
but that doesn't stop the community board putting a submission into the long-term plan ASAP, so that whatever they put in that can be considered within the deliberations by officers and council.
Over the next 2 weeks.
Well, it'll be a bit longer than that, but because
the 2-week period is just the period for which we have to decide. It gives us the time frame to do the consultation before the annual plan has to be agreed.
Yeah, and that isn't
specific that you would like to see included in what is achieved through the annual plan for this coming year, then you need to put a submission into council ASAP.
Well,
and it's clearly outlined in the long-term plan what we'd be doing in year 2.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
aren't you supposed to provide an annual plan?
Yep,
Even
and
though,
we'll
there's still supposed to be an annual plan, except for the year you create a long-term plan, isn't it? Am I
Yes,
wrong?
correct.
That is
Yes.
correct.
Yes.
So wouldn't year 2 of the long-term plan require an annual plan?
Yes, that's what we're doing at the moment, but there is no, what I'm saying, there's no legal obligation to consult on the annual plan if it doesn't deviate from the long-term plan. The long-term plan sets out the next 3 years.
Yep.
And obviously, the further you get along those 3 years, the more likely there is to be deviation. Year 1 should be pretty solid because that's only 1 year out. Year 2 should be reasonably solid. And it's when you get to year 3 that you start to see the deviation because the world has changed in 3 years.
Yeah.
So that tends to be the year that you need to do a little bit more thinking. And under the Local Government Act, the definition of around consultation is a significant deviation, and there's a definition of what significant is.
So do you have somewhere that we can download or access the annual plan for this year that we would need to be?
We're currently preparing it.
Oh, okay. So it hasn't been prepared. But do you mean that we would have to make a submission to council before the annual plan comes out for us to submit again?
So what we're doing is we're considering the work that's being done or what is proposed to be done in the annual plan. Okay, year 2 of the long-term plan.
Yeah.
At the moment, if you want something different from what is in the document at the moment, or you feel there's something that needs to come out or added in, then you need to submit a proposal for what you would actually like to council now, so that we can include that in our deliberations.
Okay, so you will need that quick smart, really. I sorry, this is actually, yeah, I thought I did my submission based on the annual plan that was presented to us, but if there's no annual plan, and that's a very brief tight time frame now to be thinking about putting that submission in, what is the deadline?
So we don't have a submission process underway at the moment, Councillor Colenso, just to be really clear.
Yeah.
The council is preparing the annual plan based on the 2nd year of the long-term plan.
Yes.
If that plan deviates significantly from the long-term plan, we need to consult on the options, so in the 2nd year of the long-term plan, we'd said we'd do A, B, and C, but we're actually going to do B, C, and D instead.
Okay. And also, if all of a sudden all these things that weren't in there are being thrown out and spending money here, there, and everywhere,
we can't legally do that.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and obviously we've got limited funds, and we've committed to a certain rates increase each year. So unless we're deviating outside that, the long-term plan is the opportunity for significant consultation with communities, and that's every 3 years.
So, Amanda, I'd say my view is that the community was consulted upon with a increase in rates of 14 to 15%, and then it ended up being 29% average. So that was way more than what was consulted upon and expected by the ratepayers. So for an annual plan to go forward in year 2 of the LTP, there was the discussions at the end of last year about the rates, and the discussion was amongst that the rates would be reviewed, or, well, from my understanding, they would be reviewed in the annual plan. And well, and not a rates. Well, the rates would be reviewed
on what had happened
in the annual plan on the basis of what had occurred in the long-term plan. So I'm feeling that perhaps, and personally I feel that perhaps as a community board, and I'll have to talk to discuss with the other members of the community board, however, I'd feel that we would need to perhaps put something forward towards council with regards to those rates, because that was a big issue for the community and is still a big issue for the community.
Yeah.
And I certainly understand that what the process is. However, I think the community as a whole would not be would find it difficult not to have a period of consultation on the annual plan this year, because I mean what the community was told was that the rates would be reviewed, or the rates would be looked at again in the annual plan, and the process was starting in February, and then it was going to be consulted upon, and then decisions made in June. So ultimately that was going to be a whole year after that issue, and it was publicised that the 29% had come out. So I think from a community board's perspective, I mean, we'd probably need to have a discussion about that, but certainly would be, I think.
I think it's particularly the concern too is the rates increasing when they've already obviously increased or doubled, gone over that amount, and people believing that this would be the opportunity at the annual plan time would be when they would be given that opportunity to make submissions. And not just us. I think there's a belief out there in the community that the annual plan was the time that they would get to make submissions.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and I'm not the decision maker on this, obviously, it's council. I think it potentially, Caitlin, I'm just going to make a suggestion, and I'm not sure how we might do this, but could there be some kind of recommended motion around, I don't want to recommend the motions you're making, but around making a recommendation to council about the opportunity for consultation? That's something you could potentially do. You could make a motion.
Sorry, I think before we travel down that road, which may further complicate things, the mayor might want to just say something here.
Cool.
Yes, I don't know whether it's the time and place. It's not on the agenda. We understand that you have some conceptions or misconceptions that probably need to be addressed. And certainly you may want to request of Harry an update as to the annual plan process, and clear up some of the confusions that you have regarding what we need to do and what we are doing to address what was raised during those public meetings. So, certainly you're not seeing what we're seeing, but certainly we're trying to reduce rates down from what was in the annual plan or in the long-term plan. So we're working through that. It's very
I understand that, Alex, and accept that, and you've said that. However, the second part of it was that the public were told that the rail would. So if I'm confused on what the public were told, that the review, the opportunity to review the rates was going to be in the annual plan starting in February and running through to. If I'm confused about that, well, that was what a lot of the people were told, and that's what a lot of people came away with.
We are right now reviewing. Look, I'm sorry, this is not a topic for a community board meeting when it's not on the agenda. I'm really sorry. Though we can put this into another format where you can discuss it with either council or with Harry to get clarity over the process.
Okay, sorry, Alex. It was just sorry, I feel completely as the chair of the Martinborough Community Board a bit blindsided by the fact, because my role is to ensure that I make submissions to the annual plan. And so I haven't been told that I might not be getting that opportunity or how I am supposed to engage to ensure we get the opportunity to have a say in those spaces. So,
well, I think
I'm confused
through to Harry over the ability for you to do that, what your roles and responsibilities are, and what the process we're going through at the moment.
Yeah. that sounds good then. So did anyone have any more questions around the rates from that rates report, or otherwise we can move on to the income and expenditure report, which is agenda item 9.2. Sorry, can I just check, is everyone okay? Is everyone happy with moving forward?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. So, so now we're going to consider the income and expenditure report, page 105 to 108. Do I have a mover to receive the draft income and expenditure report, which is ending 31 January 2022? Thank you, Aidan. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Nathan. Please raise your hand if you are in favour. All those, oh, sorry, the motion is carried. So,
Chair, can I just be excused for 5 minutes, please?
yes, actually, can we just take a quick break, please, for 10 minutes, and we can come back to this. I realise we're right at the end, but it's actually been, I'm sorry, I've lost track of time, but we have been a long time sitting. So is that okay, Katie? Can we just take a quick 10 minutes and come back at 9? Yep. Okay. Yep. Okay, we're just going to take a quick 10 minutes, everyone, and we'll come back on at 9 o'clock.
Can anyone hear me? Thanks. I'll just put some earphones in because I'm going to get family turn up soon.
Yeah, very quiet. Okay, welcome back everybody to the Martinborough Community Board Meetings Part 2. So we're just going to move on to agenda item 9.2, the income and expenditure report, which is pages 105 to 108 in the agenda. Do I have a mover to receive the draft income and expenditure statement for the period ending 31 of January 2022? Thank you, Pam. Councillor Colenso. And do I have a seconder? Thank you, Nathan. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Great, the motion is carried. So we have on here that to approve the funding for the celebration for the morning tea for the celebration of the 100 years of the Memorial Gate. Yeah, following that the Martinborough Community Board put on towards the end of last year. There was quite a bit of toing and froing and things with this, so it went really well. It went really well, and Nathan, I must commend you on that note. Sheil did an incredible job. I know you put in the hard yards really for the board. And it was a lovely morning. It was a really it was a lovely masked, socially distanced event. But we all it felt really nice to do that and to be there as well. So do I have a mover to retrospectively approve the funding for $111.90 for the Memorial Gate Centennial Celebration Morning Tea? Thank you, Nathan. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Aidan. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Great, the motion is carried. Did members have any questions on the report? Yeah. Oh, there was just there's one thing that's new that's popped up on there, Stefan, that's under the operating expenses. There's the LGNZ Community Board levy, which we pay every year, but then there's from the 30th of November staff expenses for $197.30. And I just wasn't sure what that was.
I'm afraid I don't know either. I'd have to check that.
Okay, well, are we able to mark that as a action to investigate what the staff expenses on the 30th of November under the operating expenses relates to for $197.30? Thank you.
Yes.
Then also there's a communication reimbursement. So this one reads quite different to what we've had. And this one's got $1,000 was the original commitment and $1,000 is remaining. I'm not sure what that relates to. Does anyone else know? No. Are we able to find out what that is as well, Katie? But that's the one here.
I will confirm. My understanding is that each of the community boards has a communication allowance to be used for printing, those types of things. And it appears that that hasn't been used at all. Hence, there's still $1,000 remaining. But I will clarify that with finance and get back to you tomorrow, Mel.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it might be that it just doesn't come out until the end of the, financial year. I don't know. Yeah, that would be great. Thank you, Katie. Sorry, yeah, Councillor Colenso.
Through you, Madam Chair, when we get to the annual income that shows 11,000 on that page, we've got down the bottom less committed funds and the tree to be planted in celebration, but the tree is also already been paid for in the beautification grants, so that needs to come out of there, as does the Christmas garlands as well. Because they're both in the actual grants, and
the Christmas garland, I think we agreed it would come from the beautification fund. That was on the 16th of August when we in that grants meeting. So we said that the 750 would come from there, but it's also still showing as coming out from the grants itself, even though it was never meant to be paid from the grant fund. It was supposed to be paid from the beautification fund. So yeah, because so that does look like there's that $750 and is showing as grants paid out, but probably needs to be returned back into the grant pool.
Yeah, and taken out of the beautification fund money.
Yeah, and paid from the beautification fund. Yeah. There's also still showing all these less committed funds.
Yeah, that's the ones I was talking about. They just need to be removed because they've been done. They're in the expenses. They just need to those commitments need to be removed.
Because they've all been paid out, haven't they? They're all from the 2020 year.
Yeah, they're all showing in there as being part of either the grants or the beautification fund. Yeah. So they need to come out. Rather
than looking like it's still an ongoing commitment.
Yeah, that's right. There are no commitments in that fund at the moment.
That's right. Yes. Thank you. Just that was what I had marked on there as well. So yes, yeah. And then as you were saying around the fact that that was showing under the operating beautification grants operating as well as a committed fund. So it's actually about them putting the $277.58 that remains from that $500 original commitment back into the fund, because we agreed to commit 500, not knowing what the full amount would be required. So there's still that $277.58 which just needs to be gone back into gain fund. Did anyone else have any questions about that?
Madam Chair, may I just confirm the remaining funds for the Martinborough tree planting under the beautification grant, which is $277.58, can be returned to the beautification fund.
Yeah.
And the Christmas garland decorations from the Martinborough Business Association can be removed from the committed fund into the paid fund from the beautification grant and removed from the grant paid out of the grant fund. Is that correct?
Yeah, because it's showing up in the beautification fund, which is where it's supposed to be from, but it's just showing also coming out of the grant pool.
Okay. Yeah. I will follow up with finance on those and have that corrected for the next meeting.
Perfect. Thanks, Katie. Thanks for that. Great. So if we now move on to item 9.3, the action items report, pages 109 to 112. Do I have a mover to receive the report? Thank you, Aidan. And do I have a seconder? Please raise your hand. Thank you, Pam. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Great, the motion is carried. Did anyone have any updates for the action items? Oh, so I do. Yes, Aidan. Oh, can't hear. You're mute.
Hopefully that's better now.
Oh, can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
I'll just, can you go up a little bit or?
Turn my volume up.
Don't know.
Test measure auto settings. Microphone.
Might have to pull.
Apologies.
Just hold the mic up a little bit like that. On the side.
Technical issues. Right. Hopefully that's the mic. Apologies for that. Just action item 176 there. An oldie but a goodie. It was first raised on the 19th of September 2019, which is before we took office. It's something that has been topical from the previous Martinborough Community Board, when the chair, just for a bit of an update for Amanda and Stefan, the chair of the previous Martinborough Community Board, Lisa Corneliuson.
Aidan, I can't hear you. Is anyone else struggling to hear Aidan? Yeah, no, we can't hear you, mate. Sorry. Sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh, great. Throw that stuff away. Action item 176, which was from 19th September 2019. Previous chair of the previous Martinborough Community Board asked for those items to be investigated. And a number of times over the last 2.5 years, we have asked through council for updates, and we were told on different occasions that it was going to be addressed at an annual plan, and then it was going to be addressed in a long-term plan. And then there was a report to be presented at FAR on the 11th of the 8th, 2021. Ultimately, we're still interested to find out about the cost overhead allocation and the management fees for the Payne estate. And we have 6 months left in doing for our term in this community board, and would really like for that to be resolved, and some answers to the questions that have been posed in the past, when there's a heck of a lot of work that has been carried out on the Payne estate to bring that up to speed. But the final part of it was asking questions about the costs that council was charging Payne estate, and also the other thing was reviewing, seeing what the costs were that Payne estate was being paid for the refuse station rubbish dump on Payne estate land, and that had been topical before the last local body election, and hasn't been resolved yet. So I'm just wondering if we can have a look at that again, addressed, and with some urgency within the next 6 months, please.
Yeah. I mean, the last update on there is an update requested by the Martinborough Community Board again from November. So yeah, definitely, because oh gosh, I mean, there's lots of things why it got moved all the time, but then on the report to be presented to FAR on the 11th of August, but then it says due to resourcing constraints report presented to FAR on the 27th of October, but it didn't happen then either. So yeah, that's when we've asked again. So I might as well put that right.
Plenty of explanations as to why it couldn't occur and why we can't get the information, but for 2.5 years we've been waiting.
Yeah.
And appreciate that everybody's busy, but as a community board, we're also busy as well. It would just be great to get that information so that it can be passed on out to the community who raised the issues originally.
Through you, Chair, I'll take that back and talk to the team about it and endeavour to provide an update. Thank you.
Thanks, Stefan.
Thank you. So an update on Action 95 is that Michael is actually working on this, actively working on this, and it is progressing. So he will have an update. He'll get an update through to everybody on this as soon as he can. So he's just I think putting together his team and things as well. So that's really great because it's moving again. After it stopped. We've also got the commitments for the Waihanga Centre and water fountain. Has that all been resolved? We'd asked for an update back in November on that, but that's come off now, hasn't it? That wasn't on there. I didn't see the water fountain. Did I?
Yeah, it's 495 now.
Yeah. Oh no, I mean I'm just checking on our on the community board. It looks like it's come off there though.
Sorry. It's on action item 495, still on our open on our action sheet.
Oh yes, I know, but it's fallen on. It's not on the the expenditure statement that we were just looking at.
No.
Yeah, so it looks like it has been released back into the fund, so that action can be closed.
Great. Thank you very much for that, Katie. Yeah, 497 ongoing.
Yeah.
Road name.
Excuse me, Chair.
Sorry, Madam Chair. Can I just jump forward a bit to action item 731, which has my name against it? But Nathan has been working tirelessly for that. Could that just change to his name? I think he's doing a marvellous job and has a better handle on it than I do. And then I had one that, where is it now? I saw it.
The application to Rotary?
Yeah, I've emailed you all the blank application form so you can see what is required. I did that earlier tonight. And the criteria around that, so we can have a discussion offline to see what we want to do and how we fill that form in, and then put the completed form through the community board as a meeting. So that was 127. Sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, in regard to 731, I touched base with Andy during the week, and he's still working on it. It's just going to take a bit of time, but he's actively working on it. So yeah,
right.
He hopefully got something for us soon.
Okay, very exciting. We would also still like to talk to the Waihanga roads, which was the shared contract. Yeah. So that invitation's still there. If they're free to attend one of our meetings, would be really great.
Do we have any update about 626 in regard to the flooding risks at the South Europa Campgrounds?
Yeah. Which would be great. Yeah.
No, there isn't. There isn't any progress on 626 to report. I'm sorry.
Stephen, is that still something, so that, like, you know, Harry said it was going to be done, but is that something that is still like a work in progress, or is it something that still has to be allocated?
It hasn't been allocated as yet. No.
Okay. No, it would be really good. I think it's great that you and Aidan and just everyone worked so hard to get the tour campground, and so we've got that, yeah, sort of template, I think, to work on. It's exciting times. Aidan?
There we are. I've worked that and got them unmute done. I know it's not an agenda item, but it's on that action items. I'm just wondering as to whether that plan that was put in place, that was created, wondering if that can be formalised by any chance, perhaps under the coastal camping bylaw or the coastal reserve management plan, so that then it's documented and it's recorded and yeah, there forever and a day going forward. Would that be a possible course of action?
Through you, Chair. Aidan, are you talking about formalising the approach that we've designed to making sure people are safe on the campgrounds?
Yeah, all those steps, and just wondering if that can be. I know it's something that we've worked. We've worked collectively. But I'm just wondering if that could be formalised and put into, the coastal camping bylaw or the coastal development plan that is already sitting there at a council level on the strategy or the documents or the policies.
Let me have a chat with Amanda. I'm not sure something of that level would fit under a regulatory framework. I don't know if we could dock it into that, but I agree with you. There'd be benefit in formalising it somewhere so that it's well understood and carries on after us. So let me have a chat with Amanda about how we would best achieve that.
Thanks a lot.
Okay. No. Oh, fantastic. Okay, well, if everybody have any more questions, or is everyone finished with the update? And I'd like to thank everybody for their time this evening. Thank you all for being here. There being no further business, I declare this meeting is closed at 9:26 p.m. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Alex, for your time.